All right, we're live. Can I hear everybody? Or Ethan, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Great.
Nick, how are you doing this week?
Great. How you doing?
Thanks Good. Yeah. So for our audience, Nick is with Luxor. It's a pool, and it's fairly new. And so, Nick, you were telling us that you just launched recently this year.
Yeah. So we actually launched the business was formed 2 years ago, and then we started with a Sia coin mining pool. We've been mining the Sia coin for about 18 months now, and are the largest Sia coin mining pool. And since then, we started finding other altcoins that we were really interested in. Libri or Decred, Monero, Zcash, high quality projects we think have like a lot of technical reasons why they should, they have a good fundamentals. And we started looking for coins that had pools that were underserved by the pools that were in the ecosystem at that time. So we started building these pools, and that's where we're at now. We mine 11 different altcoins, and then we just built our Bitcoin pool in October, which we launched when we went to Chengdu for the conference there.
That's awesome.
I've got a quick question for you, Nick. How did you learn that it was pronounced the Sia coin?
So I actually met the founder of Sia, David Dvorak. He's the CEO of Nebulous Labs, and he told me that it's Sia. I always said Sia coin for the longest.
That's exactly what I've said, and I've gotten in arguments with people about it. So I wanted to know how.
It is Sia, but almost everyone I've seen that hasn't met David calls it Sia. Yeah. And I don't. Yeah, it's because there's that singer too named Sia.
Yeah. So, Nick, you were saying that for the most part, it's altcoins, and you're just getting into SHA-256, or?
Yeah, so we just got into SHA-256 with Bitcoin in October, and that's been going really well. We found 2 blocks. It's pretty great. We're PPS, which is a little bit interesting. I know we may get into that at some point on the pod, the difference between payment mechanisms. But we firmly believe in PPS. All of our pools are PPS. We experimented with different payment schemes early on and just found that it only makes sense. I mine personally. Luxor mines personally, as a business as well, and we'll only mine at pools that pay PPS. And we can get into why that is.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that now. Why is that?
Yeah, so with PPS, you can actually just if you can measure.
I've got a quick question. What does PPS stand for? Just for the listeners that are noobs out there that don't know.
That's a great question. So PPS stands for pay per share. A share is what your miner is actually giving to the pool to collect the reward. PPLNS means pay per last N shares, which is a way of essentially building a proportional pool. So everybody submits all of their shares to this pool. If you submitted 30% of the shares, you get 30% of the rewards when a block is found. PPS, we can determine how much coin you should get for every share that you submit, because we know based on the randomness of a hash function how many hashes it'll take to solve a block on average. So then we give you some portion of that block reward every time you submit a share. Now, the reason I always will mine PPS is because when you submit a share, you know exactly how much that share is worth. You can do the same exact calculation that the pool is doing, and you can determine. It's the only way you determine if the pool is skimming. Like with PPLNS, the pool could inject some shares into that pool, that fund of shares that I was talking about, and you would never know, right? So they could be, injecting a few shares here and there, and then essentially skimming without you ever knowing, and it would be impossible.
Okay. So that's possibly one way to be a little bit more transparent as a pool is to do it the way that you guys are doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we think PPS, it's more risky for the pool. We've been attacked before. So like, for example, the way that a pool can be attacked is, like a nefarious miner would instead, they would be getting their PPS, they would be getting their rewards from the pool, but instead of actually submitting, that one time they actually find a block, instead of submitting the block, they discard it. It's called a block discarding attack or a block withholding attack. And typically it's something that pools will do to other pools as a way to essentially defund them. And it happened very recently, actually very recently with Slush. They were being block withheld. And they claim that's why their luck was so bad for the summer.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I mean, their luck went phenomenally down, and
Yeah.
so you can confirm that that was actually an attack that was done on them?
Well, I can't confirm that, but I can say it. I mean,
You can speculate.
you can speculate, right? That's most likely what happened. Was there's another pool or some entity out there that wants to defund them, and that's how you do it. So PPS now with PPLNS, right? That attack is now democratized across all miners. Well, PPS, the pool is funding that, right? So you'll find a miner that has what we call a luck factor, right? The luck factor is, we know it should take approximately 100 shares to find a block or whatever that number is.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less, but over time it should take 100.
Mm-hmm.
If you've submitted 200 shares without finding a block, that means we've paid you 2 blocks worth of rewards without you submitting a block. And when you start getting to like 10x luck, like 1,000 or so, then we're really wondering like, what the heck? So
Right.
yeah, so that's PPS versus PPLNS. Some of the ways you can exploit them, and there's a million payment methods. There's Kano, I think, probably has the best PPLNS implementation. They have an entire week look back period with like a really long ramp on period. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones off the top of my head.
So that way you're not getting as instantaneous payout, or
yeah. So with them, so PPLNS is it can be exploited by jumping onto the pool right after they find a block, because then you're more likely to have a larger portion of the next block reward.
interesting.
It's called pool hopping, which a lot of you can read about it on on Bitcoin Talk and stuff. There's a lot of people talk about pool hopping, how to avoid it. Is it actually bad? Some people would say yes, some people say no. PPS, it's not possible, where you can pool hop all you want. You're going to submit the shares that you submit and get paid for them.
Right.
So yeah.
I'm curious, how often or how are you guys running the math on all of this? Do you guys have your own special software that's doing it automatically for you, or did you have to build that software and create it? Like,
Yes,
yeah.
we wrote it all. We wrote it all. The actual math is very simple. It's just the number of shares divided by the network difficulty times the Coinbase reward. So 12.5 Bitcoin. That's how much a share is worth. Then every time you submit a share, we just increment your balance by 0.001 Satoshi or whatever that number is today. And we just do that every time you submit a share. That's how it works.
Can you tell us your thoughts about the halving that's coming up? What impact do you think it's going to have on the industry, at least from your perspective?
Yeah, certainly. I don't know if you know this, but everybody's rewards are going to go down by half.
Right.
So
for Bitcoin.
For Bitcoin, everybody's rewards will go down by half. What does that mean? That means if you don't have the best machines or the best rates, you're going to be mining at a loss. And I mean, we're going to start seeing machines move from high energy cost areas. We've seen the exodus of S9s to what probably most likely Kazakhstan and other places with sub 1 cent power.
Venezuela,
and some other places in South America. They're as those S9s are all going to be gone, right? I'm sure you won't be mining with those at all. Versions of the S17 and the M20 and the M20S and now the M30, most likely I think those will be the only machines that will actually be able to mine profitably anymore. So what that means is if you have an S9, you should be selling it.
Yeah, there's a lot of them on the market right now.
Yeah.
So one thing that I was wondering, the block reward and all that technical stuff behind it isn't necessarily my strong suit, but so yeah, the BTC Bitcoin halving is coming, but what impact would that have on Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV? When are their halvings, and what might happen there?
I don't follow their halvings very closely. They'll a lot of the hash rate we may see a little bit of dissemination from BTC. Obviously the hash rate is almost solely focused on BTC, except for whenever one of those other coins pumps a little bit, and then
Depends if there's a war at any particular time.
yeah, and then people jump over to the other one for a little while, but most likely you're not interested in mining at a loss. Now, when the value of a Bitcoin share goes in half and after the halvening, then we may see some hash rate jump over to the other coins for a little while until their difficulty, as we all know, the difficulty will increase and we'll find some equilibrium. I imagine that equilibrium will take a couple of months though. So 3 to 6 months, there's going to be a lot of churn in hash rate, and we're specifically targeting that.
Do you think that there's going to be some kind of a coordinated attack or aggressive strategy by some of these other SHA-256 coins around the halvening?
I don't think they have enough. I doubt it. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have enough. They wouldn't have enough hash rate to really do anything meaningful anyway. So,
I mean, there's proof of work, there's proof of social. You hear people using those terms, but when Bitcoin SV first started, they were getting really excited, and they thought they were going to be winning the hash rate war. But so I was just wondering, how that might change.
Yeah.
But
if you're a Bitcoiner, I don't think you have anything to worry about.
So, other than SHA-256, I mean, for you personally, what's your favorite algorithm or coin?
Decred. Blake to be. I really like Decred. I know their devs pretty well, and the quality of their work is second to none. They have some of the highest quality code that I've seen. So like their lead dev Dave is phenomenal. He's amazing. So probably one of the smartest people I've ever interacted with. So that's definitely my favorite project from a technical standpoint. Again, I really like Sia too. What they're actually doing is cool. The ability to store files, not technically on the blockchain, but verify that they are being stored via blockchain. That's really amazing as well. Those are two projects that come to mind like straight away.
Can you tell me more specifically about the code, the Decred? Like, just give me a comparison. Like, what did they do that's just really wowed you compared to
Dave,
another development?
To optimize this hash function that they have, not specifically the hash function, but the way they apply it, and was able to speed up their sync time by like 90%. So you can now sync the Decred blockchain in like less than an hour, which is incredible, right? So that's amazing. That's like a pretty amazing feat. A lot of chains have this now, but it was really cool to see Dave able to pull that off. And other people. Sorry, Dave is the one I keep talking about. That there's a lot of Decred developers, and I want to give them credit as well.
Dave who?
Collins, I believe his last name is.
Okay.
I know him as Dave CGH is his screen name, but
what's next for Luxor?
Yeah, so our next big push is going to be an Equihash profit switching pool. So we're going to move. We're going to do that as a stepping stone to SHA-256. So we'll do a SHA-256 profit switching pool in Q2 of 2020. The Equihash pool is currently running right now. The profit switching pool is currently running now, and we'll start rolling that out to like public customers in January, most likely.
So tell us a little bit about profit switching.
Yeah, that could be a podcast on its own. Basically, what we're gonna do is you just you look at the network difficulty, you look at the trends in network difficulty, and then the trends in price, and see if you can find some regression that makes sense, and just find the most profitable coin at that point in time to mine. So we'll have 4 coins underlying that pool. We'll have Komodo, Zcash, Pirate, and Horizon Zencash. We'll be analyzing all 4 of those coins in real time and deciding which coin's most profitable to mine at any point in time, and then switching the hash rate over to each of those chains to maximize profits. It's a really common feature people have asked for. We get requests for profit switching a lot, especially from our Equihash miners. They're not behooved into any chain at any point in time. They just want to get their OpEx covered, and then typically what they'll do is they'll mine their OpEx and then switch to the coin they're actually interested in, say Zcash or Zen.
Are you going to be using some sort of artificial intelligence or something to determine this, or is it just number crunching?
So it's just number crunching now, but like you said, that's something we will definitely start doing, is looking at, we'll start looking at getting smarter about which coins we're going to mine. At first, it'll be a rather naive approach, just looking at difficulty and price, and then with a very small regression. But then we will start seeing if there's a way we can aggregate more data and decide which coin is more profitable to switch to earlier, right? So what you would really like to do is know which coin is going to be the most profitable, not the coin that is the most profitable.
That's why I asked about AI. Is I've actually heard in the community some people that are working on that technology right now as we're speaking, of predicting where you need to be. It's not what fits the bill right here right now. It's where you need to be in the next 24, 48 hours to be the most profitable.
So the one thing that we have a bit of a benefit being at the pool level is that we're very nimble to switch. A lot of people that are doing what you're talking about are mining. They're switching the miners themselves.
True.
Which is that's quite the task. I don't know if you've ever been to like a scaled mining farm, but switching a scaled mining farm between pools is quite a task.
Right.
So, but being at the pool level, they connect to the pool, and then the pool just decides which work to send out. And there's no disconnects. The miners don't even know that they're mining different chains at any point in time. So we just send out different jobs.
So that's very interesting that you say that. Would it be possible for other pools to like maybe side mine? Like, let's say I'm connected to a pool and I'm using just my S9 miners. But would it be possible for that pool to, send, a different coins, even though it's the same algorithm, but it's mining for different coins work, and then my mine would be working on behalf of that? Is that
So are you asking if they could be mining Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash at the same time?
Not at the same time, but let's just say every now and then, periodically they send like a wave of Bitcoin Cash to be mined by my miners, or just the pool in general.
Absolutely. And I'm very confident in saying that the most Bitcoin pools do just that.
Oh, wow.
They will be mining, they'll be switching coins underneath the hood, and you won't even know. So they'll give you the Bitcoin PPS rate, whatever that is at any point in time, but they're most likely switching coins underneath that.
Wow. Okay. So I was always curious about that. So my miners may have not just only done Bitcoin in their entire history. They may have done Bitcoin Cash and some other
PPC, Terracoin. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's
So at the pool level, we can do that. You don't need to. You won't know, right? We can switch out whatever job we want to send. Your miner won't know, as long as it's submitting shares. Your hash rate and everything you'll be getting paid. You'll have hash rate, and you won't ever know.
Do you think there would be a way to opt out of a certain one? Like, let's say if you had something like morally against one coin or something like that, or one project, could you like click a checkbox and opt out?
Not technically. You could, if we as Luxor, we will, if we ever decide to start opening up to profit switching, we may consider that. If it's if say maybe in Equihash it's not as important because people are less dogmatic, but in Bitcoin, most likely people would uncheck that Bitcoin SV box.
Yeah. So I was really curious, like how the hash rate was being kept up, and now it kind of makes sense to me that, like you were saying, under the hood things can happen that are beyond our control, that the pool can control.
Absolutely, yeah. And so Stratum V2 would change all of that, right? So when Slush, that's one of the things that Slush, I don't know if he actually called that out specifically, but you would not be able to do that, right? Because so what Stratum V2 allows you to do essentially is pack the transactions the way you want to as the miner. So I'm mining my SHA-256 miners, and I'm sending the shares back to the pool. Well, along with that is like which transactions I want to go in the block. Well,
Oh.
if you're mining Bitcoin, that the transactions that are in Bitcoin SV are not in the blocks or not in the memory pool. So you wouldn't be able to submit those blocks, right? You wouldn't be able to submit those shares because they don't show, those transactions are not in the memory pool.
What are your thoughts on the morality of, like for myself, when I join a pool, I think I'm mining a certain coin. And of course, to a degree, I am mining that coin because I'm getting paid back in that coin. But in reality, I'm actually supporting other coins. Some, like Scott mentioned, that I might not be in support of. So what are your thoughts on the morality of that?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's, that's a good question. I'm not actually sure. I wouldn't, losing
You're
you. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's, I'm not sure if it's moral or immoral. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Let me put it that way. My company will not do that. So I guess in that sense, then yeah, I would say that it is immoral. I would, but that doesn't mean that everybody would say that. A lot of people are rather utilitarian, right? They just want to get the most money for their coin or for their hash, and then by proxy their coin. So yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't have a very solid answer for you, which makes me a terrible podcast guest.
No. So on a different note, that dog, is that a corgi?
That is a corgi.
You're walking around. It's kind of like,
He's
Voss Coin, has his
Yeah, that's
Shiba, right?
that's Rogue. She's a little corgi. Yep,
Nice.
my cat too. That's Hermes.
Hermes.
I'll lock them up next time.
No.
Oh yeah,
It's a treat.
yeah, really good.
So
to change topics a little bit, sounds like a little bit about decentralization and economics. What other topics do you want to hit on today?
yeah, so let's talk. There's two. One, I'll give some tips to your miners on how they can make sure be as profitable as possible for as long as possible. I'll give you that. We'll go on that one in a second, but we can talk about decentralization first. So right now you can see like a lot of the hash rate is really centralizing, right? Not just to a pool, but to a region, right? Mostly the Sichuan province in China. Some people think there's more than 60% of all Bitcoin hash rate is within an 8-mile radius or an 8-hour radius of Chengdu, China. Now, is that a problem? I mean, it's not great, but is there any way around it? I think the only way we're going to get around it is with an American manufacturer, mining manufacturer. So, and I have heard there are a couple potentially, coming. We'll see. Obelisk, they tried and failed rather miserably, but hopefully they can try again. I hope they can, because I think they ended up failing, but in their failure they succeeded. Right? They actually shipped an American miner, which is something we should kind of applaud.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but they themselves haven't really shown any interest in doing anything for SHA 256. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I have to imagine that they would, though. If I were running that business, I would. That's what they should have done in the first place, I believe.
If you could advise an American manufacturer on what should they be designing for, so basically you're fighting two different things. You're fighting manufacturing cost. So
Yep.
if you go to a very, very small process, 7 nanometer, 5 nanometer, even 3 nanometer, the foundries to produce those chips, it becomes phenomenally expensive. And then we have to balance that with power efficiency. Would you say it would be better for an American company to produce miners that are balanced more towards efficiency through a small chip process in the die, or don't worry about the efficiency, just get the cost low so people can buy a cajillion of them and get them up and mining?
Yeah, I think long term you're gonna have. I think you have to focus on efficiency. The watts per joule. I think that's the bottom line number, and anybody that's making a miner needs to be thinking about that.
Yeah, joules per terahash. Yeah.
Joules per terahash is very important. And that being,
The M30 just set the mark, right, at 33.
Yes, supposedly.
yeah,
We'll see.
30. Well, they said sub 40
Okay.
joules per terahash, but what that's actually going to be, who knows?
right.
And when that's actually going to come out,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Scott and I both have seen, many miners that, you look at the specs, and then when, they run real time in the farm, and even the farms have told us this, that they can be all over the place,
Yeah.
in terms.
Other advice, I think they have to go for SHA-256. That's the only way to do it, and it needs to be specifically if America wants to really be involved, like really in the conversation. We have to figure out how to either manufacture them in the United States or through a U.S. entity, such that you don't have to pay the tariffs, because the tariffs right now are really the killer, right? No, it makes it essentially impossible for anybody to mine at scale. People will buy 10 or 15 miners and just pay the 25% out of principal. But if you have somebody buying 1,000 plus, S17s, that becomes rather untenable with a 25% tax on that, or even more.
Yeah, yeah. And right now, Bitmain actually does have a manufacturer, a facility in Malaysia, which is starting to help people in the United States to avoid that tariff. But yeah, other than that, all the other manufacturers right now are based in China. So
right. Let's see. So decentralization, yeah, we're headed in the wrong direction currently, but that doesn't mean we can't turn around, and we'll figure it out.
Nick, what are your thoughts on, maybe these companies? Because we all know that China is kind of an unstable country, and sometimes it's for blockchain, and then other times it's against it, and there are claims that Bitcoin's been outlawed there. What are your thoughts on those Chinese companies migrating to other countries like the United States and Canada and South America, if you will?
Yeah. You mean the companies or the miners themselves?
Well, the entire mining facility is just uprooting. I've kind of been hearing a buzz that that's kind of a possibility that's being thought about.
So that's really hard to do. It takes a lot of time, right? So they move miners from the Sichuan province to different provinces during the
wet season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually do that currently, but within the country. Now, would you move them out to another country and leave them there? I don't know. That's a pretty big ask, I think. I would imagine what's going to happen. What will actually be happening is that the new miners that are being built,
Mm-hmm.
will not. Well, they wouldn't end up in China.
They would just ship them to the new location.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take. This is all in a hypothetical world, because that's not going to happen right now. All the miners are just going to end up in the Sichuan province in China. Like 80+% of them will probably just end up right there, because it makes the most sense, right? You just put them on a truck, ship them over there, plug them in, and they pay cheaper power than we pay anywhere over here. In like an ideal world, how would we get you wouldn't like take those mines and move them somewhere. You would create new mines with the machines coming out of the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other topic was how can miners maximize how can they maximize their profits?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This goes from the miner that just got their first GPU rig set up and is now mining Ethereum or something, to a miner that has thousands of machines in a data center mining Bitcoin, with optimized firmwares and everything. The one thing that I notice people don't watch as closely as I think they should, and they really need to keep an eye on it, is the pool efficiency, the efficiency of their miner's connection to the pool. So like when you submit a stale or an invalid, they'll show up as hash rate, but you don't get paid for them. And a lot of people don't monitor that rate. So if you're mining, say, let's say you're mining Monero, and you have a 97% efficiency, and you're mining at a pool that pays that takes 2% fee. Well, since you're losing 3% to your poor efficiency, and now you have 2% fee, you're actually mining at 5% fee effectively. So you can squeeze out 3% more if you can find a pool that has either better latency, processes shares faster, gets block updates out quicker. There's a lot of things that pools can do to reduce that inefficiency, and that's something I think a lot of miners should really take a hard look at is see if their miners are running efficiently.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Ethan, I think that's something that we might be able to help people to start looking at as well with our website, cryptomining.tools. Right now we have an uptime checkbox where you could say, yeah, you can assume that your miners are always going to be up 100% of the time, but realistically, that's not the case. But I think another field that we can also add is something like, efficiency or stale shares, because if that can take off 2 to 3% right there, that's big.
That's significant. I'll definitely bring it up with the developers. I'm sure they'll be happy to do more math.
Yeah, and Nick, how do you help miners to see that and to pay more closer attention to that?
Yeah, so we display all of that data on our site. So we collect those shares. We still collect them as statistics. We obviously can't pay invalid shares or stales, but we collect them and display them. So when you submit, really you should have 0 invalids. Like unless your miner came on and submitted like a weird share, like right when it started, you should have 0 invalids. Start with that. And then you should have very low stales, like 0.1% or lower.
Okay.
Stale rate. So those are like some benchmarks you should be looking for. We have our miners that are very close to our pools, and we have like 0.05% stale rate. So that's like a good benchmark. Now, if you're getting like 1 to 2% stales, you got to find a better pool. You got to find a pool that's closer to you.
And it has more to do with that physical geography, the location,
the network lag, the latency.
So it can be that, or it could be the pool is processing shares slowly and is taking a long time to get a new jobs out to miners. We time all that stuff internally to make sure that we're sending out jobs with very low latency. Meaning, when I say a new job, say the block height has just changed, we make sure that we get that information from the network and get that information out to the miners in less than a couple of milliseconds. Like that's what we're trying to do. So
so some of it has to do with the pool itself. Some of it has to do with the mining facility and maybe how robust their network is.
There's a million reasons why you could have a high stale rate. But just identifying that you have a high stale rate, that's the first step, right? Because then you can start investigating. We've had miners that have like a misconfigured data center where it's introducing latency within the data center. So they were measuring latency from the data center to the pool, and we're looking at a really good latency there, but it was actually latency coming from within the data center. Another good number to add is you should have your ping to the pool should be less than 100 milliseconds. You should be looking at less than 100 milliseconds latency between your rigs and the pool, and that needs to be your rigs, not your network. So
and is that something that you can help show back to them, or is that something that the miner has to look up themselves?
The miner would have to look that up themselves. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. There's no way in the protocol for us to actually like reach out to the miner and say, like, get them to respond, and so we can measure that time.
Yeah.
It's something I'm trying to do, but right now there's no way for me to do it. So you would just have to measure that from your miner. So make sure you have a machine that's on the same network as your miner, and then run a ping test or something to the pool that you're using, and make sure that ping rate is less than 100 milliseconds. And if it's not, there's some ways to mitigate a higher latency. We can get into that as well. You like compress the shares with a proxy or something, but that's another technical thing you may not.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show here, but so why don't you just tell us one more time where we could find you? What algorithms people should use, and
for Luxor Technology, you can find us at luxor.tech. You can find us on Discord. Hit me up on Twitter, Nick Hansen 600. We're pretty much around. We have a great Discord channel. We chat with people all the time, help them set up, help them debug. Anything? No? Okay. And that's it. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
thank
right.
you. Yeah.
All right. Take care.